I'm fine with leveraging as long as I see the value. There's a lot of people that they just want to hold their pennies so tight. They just won't leverage those. We see in the agent world, any services business, like they just won't hire that admin.
From cornfields to high rises, office to industrial, houses to hotels, and every other asset class in real estate, we cover the people, the projects, and the profit. Welcome to the Investing in Iowa show. This show is for go-doers, action takers, and business owners. It's for people like you who are sick of Uncle Sam taking a huge bite of your apple. If you're looking to get ahead of what's taking place in Iowa, learn who is doing what, and how you can get in on the action, you're in the right place. Hosted by Neil Timmins, an Iowa native who has been involved in over $300 million in real estate, right here in Iowa. Recording in studio from West Des Moines. Here's your host, Neil Timmins.
Darson Grantham, welcome to the show.
Yes, happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Hey, it's good to have you here. Say, for the audience's sake, who are you, where are you from, what do you do?
Gosh, a lot of that can be answered in a long-winded answer, but I grew up in small town Iowa. I've lived in Des Moines since 2006. I went to AIB Business College, the college that is no longer. Right. I knew I wanted to do business early on. I owned lawn mowing business stuff, and so basically tried to figure out what that meant through business college. Sold Cutco knives for a while during college. I was laughing at my wife when I started becoming a realtor. I was like, if this doesn't work out, I can go sell knives because they're literally the easiest thing in the world to sell because they're so damn good. So I did that. That was 06, 7, 8, 9. Graduated, met my wife in 2012, working as an account manager for an insurance company selling employee benefits. Actually, it was more than employee benefits. It wasn't, but the fun of it was meeting business owners around the state of Iowa. So I'd meet with like all the widget manufacturers because we did, not all of them, but a lot of them, their employee benefits. And you get to hear their story of like how they grew their little business to be like the most unknown business in like Iowa, right? That was super fun. Traveled across the state, did that. They actually let me go in 2017. I got fired. One of my clients called me and they said, hey, do you want to come do what you were doing for them just as in-house for us? So we're Kiva up in Ames, $1 billion company in Iowa, startup. They were clients of ours and they said, just come do what you were doing in-house for our employees. So I didn't really scratch my like sales entrepreneurial itch because I was working for corporate America. Yeah. But at least I wear shorts and sandals and backwards hat and they did not care about it at all. And so then they grew from 700 to 1,300. And I got fired from them right at COVID when COVID happened. There's a theme here, right? In between that, I started investing in real estate, joined some masterminds, bigger pockets, and just learned everything I could about real estate investing. And that came from, we did the Dave Ramsey, my wife and I, Dave Ramsey plan. Didn't love once we get to step 4, you have to pay off your house and put more in the stock market. And I was like, I just feel like there's a better way. And so my wife she's to this day on our finances and business. She's like, pretty much trust you blindly until you prove me not to. And I was like, okay, I got this. So she was supportive of that. And since then that happened. I lost my job at Workiva and basically I owned rentals, but I'd already been networking with real estate investors throughout Des Moines. And so flipping the switch to become a realtor for investors made a lot of sense. I just did that math and that was literally March, and I called all the brokerages. Only one that would meet me in person was Keller Williams.
This was March during COVID.
During COVID. Okay. Yep. Literally in the smack of it. None of the offices were open. I was like, hey, I want to become an agent. And everyone's like, no answer. No one's even, I had to narrow down between two. And I listened to Gary Keller a few times on YouTube. And I was like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know who, I don't know what, but that is who I want to be with. So I joined Keller Williams and had to make a decision whether it was going to be investing that I wanted to do or I want to be a real estate agent because I just a firm believer in it's two very separate business models.
Correct.
And I chose just after a year of doing agent work, I was like, I can not be an investor, but I can help a lot of investors. So I owned some properties. At the time, I owned 15 doors. So I bought some stuff and became an agent. It's gone well. I was rookie of the year first year, sold a bunch of business and have been pretty flat, honestly. It's kind of pisses me off a little bit. I'm like 50 houses a year. Yeah, it's good and all, but like I can't get over that hump of like 75 to 100.
The next piece.
That's where we'll see.
And then you do some things in the short-term space, don't you?
Yeah. So 2022, basically as an agent, I work with a lot of folks that are out of state. They're looking to buy in Des Moines. I'm big on bigger pockets. I have a YouTube channel. And so 40% of my business is done with out of state folks, right? So that's either on the buying as residential or investors looking to buy here. So In doing that, investors wanted to buy short-term rentals in Des Moines. I wasn't comfortable referring any of the management services that were in Des Moines to them. And so I was literally losing sales because I didn't have someone to manage their properties. And I am not a manager. I'm the visionary type person. I am not the operations. And so I knew I could not do it. And so I reached out to a couple past clients and a fellow realtor. And I said, hey, if you guys do all the operations, let's start this business and let's see where it can go from here. And so I started that in 22, tested out on our own product for a year. And now we have 11, maybe even 15 under contract, I guess you could say, is we're managing management. Yep. Just short term, medium term too, just because it ties in like in the winter stuff. No long term. I refuse to do long term rental stuff. I struggle with those businesses.
It's the two businesses, short term. Well, let's call it short and mid term. Let's lump that into a single category.
Furnished and not furnished.
Yeah, furnished, not furnished. Total. It's night and day. Totally different business. Totally different management. One's largely hospitality driven.
Yeah, the short term. It's not real estate.
Right.
Like it is marketing. I say clickbait. It's not clickbait, but it's truly a click through rate. You can see all the testing of like, hey, your first 4 photos are shown. These are the first 4. They stop after photo 2.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, shit, no, we need a better 3rd photo, 4th photo, whatever.
Right.
The short term world, and you know this, Neil, the data behind it is bonkers. You can see exactly what you need to do to be the best.
Yes.
The long term world, you can't do that,
no.
Which I struggle with a lot.
Even today.
Yeah.
Today's
you can rent a meter, you can do all the things, but a house, two bedroom, 2 ones on the same street can rent at least $300 to $400 a difference, depending on their quality. And you can't track that anywhere because once it goes down, once it goes not listed anymore, there's no tracking source. Yeah. I've tried to figure out how to fix that, and I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah. Where there's a lack of transparency, there's money that can be made.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just look at it as I have a lot of investor clients. I know a lot of investors in Des Moines. If I could get every investor to input the data that needs to be inputted into a system, you could spit out the differences between having a garage and not having a garage in Beaverdale. Not there yet. Yeah. That's a dream thing, but it's not even in the works.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to do that, I would totally support them.
It would be tremendous. It would be a heavy lift, but
it would be heavy.
The information would be incredible. Yeah. Talk to me about growing up in small town Iowa. Everybody has a different background, where they come from, how they grew up, what that was like. What were the benefits of growing up in small town? How has that come to serve you today?
Good questions. So my dad was a REC lineman, like an electrical lineman, not house electric, but like big stuff. My mom was a beautician / stay-at-home mom. So she had a beauty shop in our house for most of my childhood. Went to public school, played sports. I think I learned a ton of work ethic. I was telling someone last night, like I learned so much work ethic from sports. And then I was like, but my parents worked hard. He was an alcoholic up until 10 years ago, like fit the black velvet every night, drunk for sure. Super nice guy, but just always drunk. Stopped 10 years ago. Thank goodness. Totally different guy now with the grandkids. Yeah. It's so fun. But they both work hard. We sat around and watched the news maybe an hour a night. So we watched some TV, but dad was always gone. Mom was always working. So it has to be something with that. Yeah. But on sports, so I was in high school. Our basketball team was really good. I was not very good, but I worked hard. Yeah. And so like I'd win awards like Mr. Hustle or whatever. Like, that means you can't shoot and you can't do anything else, but you can play hard. Yep. Like, okay, that's me in a nutshell. Yep. So we won state my junior year and then won state my senior year. And like I was 6th man off the bench, and our basketball coach was insane work ethic guy. Just our practices to the minute were scheduled, and like you'll dribble the ball from here to here for this 1 minute of the evening. Yeah. And we all make fun of him, but like he's so good.
I think the difference is between watching parents work hard and then your sports is the difference between understanding and implementation.
Yeah, because I didn't see my parents implement the working hard because I wasn't there, right? But my basketball coach, I could see that.
You were the one who had to implement it.
Yep. Yeah. It wasn't me watching something. It was a combo. I mean, because at home, I don't say my parents didn't make me work hard, but I had chores. I had a lawn mowing business. I don't ever remember them like really yelling at me, like, you need to go do these things. It was not drill sergeant. I guess I knew where I stepped out of line, I'd get my ass chewed. But like, you just knew where that line was. But in basketball, like you're just always intense. It was insane.
When you were going around Iowa, selling employee benefits, if you will, and talking to these small business owners, understanding and learning about them and their story, was there something did it shock you in any capacity that you'd go into small town Iowa and talk to these business owners and you'd be like, this is like finding a little Corvette in the back of the barn, meaning they have a tremendous business and produce tons of money. And you're like, you'd never have a clue.
Yeah, it was very surprising. And like how humble they all were. Very few of them were flashy. Because in small town, you can't be flashy. Otherwise, like it won't work out well.
Yeah. Culture clash, if you were.
Totally. Like I remember going to college and I bought an Acura TL. And I was like, I don't know if it was my dad or someone was like, you going to drive that back home? And I'm like, it's not that nice of a car. And they're like, it's almost like a Lexus. And I'm like, it's not that nice, but like, it was just different. It wasn't a big truck. I used to drive a big truck.
Yep.
So yeah, the small town, it was their biggest. One thing I noticed about them is they all cared so much about their employees. That was their key to success, or key to making the widget, was they had to have workers. They'd pull from other towns, and the towns would kind of not fight, but try to draw in from other people. Like, how do we care about our employees? What do we have to do to our employees to make sure they come here and not the next town? And that's the majority of what I noticed.
Well, it's a key component in business is the leverage, right? A leverage shows up in multiple places, right? Through people, through finance, through operations and marketing, a number of ways, but people being a large one. I'm curious as to that leverage, especially plugging in Keller Williams, Gary Keller, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, both agent and the investor, the 2 series of books, how you've applied leverage inside of your business.
Hi, it's Ava Baukamp, the Investment Relations Manager for Neil's firm, Legacy Impact Investors. I'm inviting you to join us for our next investor workshop, our monthly legacy briefings. In these tactical Zoom calls, we cover topics and case studies for subjects such as taxes and depreciation, navigating macroeconomic shifts, and evaluating deals as a passive investor. At each virtual workshop, we are joined by an industry guest who covers their topic in 45 minutes or less. No fluff, no pitches, just education and conversation with an expert each month. Every workshop ends with live Q&A from Neil and our guest. All briefings happen on the last Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m. Central. If you can't make it live, recordings are sent out exclusively to those who've registered in advance. To join us on the last Tuesday of this month, visit legacybriefing.com. Go to legacybriefing.com to register. If you're a first-time registrant, I'll send you a free resource at sign up. Head to legacybriefing.com and I'll see you soon.
3 months in, I hired my first. I never have done TC work myself.
Oh, yeah.
I got fired twice, and it was mainly because I was not organized and not to the T, right? So I knew that real quick. And then when I started selling, I was like, okay, I'm just going to price in $200 TC fee to help make sure that the transactions close on time and we hit deadlines. I'm okay with hitting deadlines. It's the sweeping up everything. And so I did that right away. Hired my first be part-time admin 3 or 4 months into it, and did not do any hiring, just because like some contractor said, hey, my wife doesn't have anything to do during COVID. And I'm like, well, I'll hire her if she just wants to, basically sweep up my messes. And it went well for, a good year and a half. And then I realized like I need a true organizer. And so, leverage to me is people. I've not bought leads much. It's not really something that I've built my business on. I have created content, created goodwill throughout the community, right? So I run investor meetups locally. Bigger Pockets, before I was an agent, I was commenting on anyone who talked about Des Moines real estate on Bigger Pockets. And so besides Mitch Paluzzi, I had the most likes and comments of any agent. So when Bigger Pockets flipped the switch and said, hey, you can now find an agent, I was like, yes, I will be that guy. That helped build my business because all of the goodwill I created for the first 2 or 3 years before I became an agent.
Yeah, through serving, through comments, through adding value.
Yeah, so like to me, that's a form of leverage. It's an ongoing leverage. But yeah, the Gary Keller, the book, I could go on forever. Like it's one thing I love about Keller is it's Keller, but it's really the real estate business in general. It's a model. I didn't realize that you could model that out. Before I became an agent, I was like, I just got to talk to a lot of people about real estate and surely they'll trust me. At least enough of them will. And then I was like, the models came out. I'm like, oh, so you just have to do these things, right. Then you'll sell. It's very
follow a model. Ultimately, what you're saying is run a business. That's what the model is the play-by-play about how to run a business, not how to be an agent.
No.
Right?
Yep.
It's how to run a business.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Your database, what you need to do with them, the have-nots and have-not-mets. I still laugh at today, and you probably get this too. I think if someone came to me and said, I want to make $100,000 next year, they're willing to work 40 hours a week, I would guarantee them $100,000 next year. But they have to do exactly what I say for 40 hours a week.
Right.
But nobody wants to do that.
It's hilarious. I've read the book and I've implemented. Many years ago. Yeah, I understand it. The model is there. It's been proven. It's worked. Right.
And you can tweak it. Right. So like,
sure.
I don't do the calls and texts. Like it says every quarter you're supposed to talk to everyone in your database. I'm like, I don't like getting phone calls.
Sure.
I'm not going to do phone calls. X I can do. We can figure out how to do that.
That, and he followed up the millionaire real estate agent with the millionaire real estate investor.
Right.
So a model for investors.
Exactly. Yes.
There's plenty of people out there who follow and execute.
Yep. Yeah.
That method.
Same thing. It's just not right. You don't have to recreate. It feels like as investors, I was an investor before any of that. And I was like, you don't have to create something new.
Right.
Just follow what other people are doing.
Yeah. Let's talk about that in the short-term space. Maybe define for folks. We're from Iowa, and you're sitting here and where we sit, you have an understanding. But if you're not here, you're like, why would anyone ever go to Iowa? The idea being, the traditional short-term model is,
Yep.
6-bed home on a beach.
Yep.
And that's only a mere fraction of what Airbnb is built, for lack of a better descriptor of really what short-term is. It's a mere fraction of what their business is built on.
Yeah, short-term, I always laugh. People ask the same. It's the most common question. Who comes to Des Moines for short-term? Well, first I'm going to point out, short-term in Des Moines, and probably most like any other small city, is like no one comes here to vacation. You don't need to be the vacation spot. There is some need for that, right?
Sure.
Bigger properties. That isn't the need. It's the things that Des Moines have going for it. And you don't know that until you start doing research. And you don't hear about what all Des Moines has, but there is a boatload of events, of places, of venues that people come to Des Moines for. And if you think about it, it's not necessarily people from out of state. It's small town Iowa.
Right.
They're like, they're 2 hours away and they're like, we're coming to a wedding. We don't want to drive home after the wedding for 2 hours. So let's just stay in an Airbnb. Or we have the hospital systems. And so those nurses come in and stay in and using the short-term or medium-term rental capacity. So I was talking with yesterday or the day before about how to furnish a big rental, right? So a 5-6 bedroom at the pool and whatnot. And we just talked about if you deck it out, there's very few in Iowa that are decked out. But if you bought that same thing in Gulf Shores, Alabama, Florida, whatever, it's going to be decked out because that's what your competition is. You have to have that. Right. It's not the standard here, so you can really get ahead.
Right.
So until enough short-term rental owners start meeting and catching up, there's a little bit of an arbitrage there.
It goes past just having a nice property because anybody can go in. I know a number of people are going, oh, I can go do that. I'm a construction in that trade, right? I can go in and I can make it look sexy, but it goes past that. You have to execute on the hospitality side of that business. Otherwise, it's all for nothing.
Yeah. And I was kind of on the front end of that. That was when you're pre-evaluating the actual like day-to-day stuff. I mean, that's hospitality, not real estate. I know some agents that own their own Airbnbs and I'm like, you can't be maximizing that. Right. One, you can't maximizing that. And plus you're taking away from your agent business unless you like really enjoy hospitality. And there's some people that do. Yeah. It's not smart.
Yeah. That you just mentioned something that tripped the thought. I see a number of agents and I see it more in the agent business than I see it in doctors or lawyers. So I'll draw a parallel here in a second. That I see a number of people, though I'm an agent and then I also invest. And the idea is I'll invest, I'll buy these rentals, or I'll buy the short-term rental, whatever it happens to be, and that'll supplement my income. But what ends up happening, just like if you were a doctor or a lawyer, if you were to apply the same thing, is your billable hours in the law practice decrease, right? This is why I read a book a number of years ago. Attorneys are the least likely of all professional trades to build their own house because they're the most likely to know exactly what they're compensated per hour. That means when they make a trade-off, they know what it costs them. And so I see that a lot on the agent side if they just stayed in their own lane, like an accountant or an attorney or a business owner of any nature, and you can still invest. It just has to be done differently. Yeah. So I'm wondering if you see the same thing, where you see pitfalls. I just happen to see it in the agent space probably more than any other.
I see it in myself. Yeah. I don't invest. I don't buy rentals as much as I really like. I feel the need to because I'm putting money into my real estate agent business.
The operating business.
Yeah. So like my long-term rentals, I drive by a block away from them. I mean, probably every day. And I have someone else manage them.
Yep.
I just got to a point where it made no sense for me to even think about leasing up a unit. I mean, because of what I was able to sell as an agent.
They're two different businesses.
Totally.
You can maximize your operating business and then invest separately without being the person who does the day-to-day, the grind, the whatever.
And you have to pay for it. I'm fine with like the leverage thing. I'm fine with leveraging as long as I see the value. There's a lot of people that are they just want to hold their pennies so tight.
Yep.
And like they just won't leverage those. We see in the agent world, any services business, like they just won't hire that admin.
Correct.
I'm like, just hire the damn admin.
Correct.
If done correctly, it'll be maximized. Like there's a lot of proof. I saw that when I was in the insurance world. The agents that first hired the admin would blow up and the agent that was too cheap and was like, no, I don't want to spend it because I don't know.
Right. It's a cost.
Yeah.
not an investment.
Yeah.
That's how they view it. Right.
I see that all the time in any industry. It's not definitely just not the agent. And it's another advocate or reason why you should invest out of your own city, right? Because you can't work on it if it's your own. Yeah. You don't even have a choice.
Right.
Now there's obviously, I always say invest locally. You'll know way more about it. You'll be able to study it unless you invest locally. But a reason to not would be to, if you're a hands-on person and you always want to fix everything yourself, it'll either take away from your work or your family.
Yes. Correct. That brings me to why Iowa. I'm going to ask two questions. There's plenty of reasons to invest out of state, if you will. There's plenty of states you would never invest in. And thinking some of the coasts where there is no cash flow anyway or very little, that's the reason to leave, to invest in another state, whether it be Iowa or someplace else. But for you, why Iowa? You have choices. You could have gone anywhere. You could have done anything. Why here? Why do you stay here? What are the benefits of actually, as you see it, actually being here?
Yeah. So we thought long. So it's a family thing for me. We're from here, from small town Iowa. My wife's from Marshalltown. I mean, we all have family here. During COVID, we considered where else would we have wanted to move? And like the laws that Iowa came out with and how they handled that, like we're huge freedom people. Like I don't want to be told what to do. When we told what shots to get, where to take my kids, we're not going to do that. And so there isn't another state that treated it better than what we thought we could get for what we get here, right? Secondly, Des Moines in general is massively underrated. I think if you look at what they're doing, the city, for getting people to move here, the size of it not being over 1 million yet, hasn't got big national attention, but still comes up on all of the lists of best places to live, work, blah, blah, blah. Most people that visit here are surprised with how nice it is if they're here for the first time or like how much they liked it. I help investors invest here and they'll come into town and they'll say, take me to the worst neighborhood, right?
Yep.
I'll take them to what I would consider the lowest income neighborhood. And they're like, this is it? This is the worst? And I walk my kids down any street in Des Moines during the day and not blink an eye.
Yeah.
So the why Iowa, it's a very safe bet. So the other thing is the median during COVID, 20 to 23, I believe the median household sale price, Iowa was the 5th lowest of all of the states, right? So it didn't go up a ton.
Right.
To me, that means, well, it's not going to go down a ton when we have a downturn, right? And we're kind of seeing that right now. We're up. March was 5% median sale price year over year. And there are other cities that are definitely flat or losing. Like massively.
We've still seen an increase on that single family side.
Yep.
It's the fastest growing, Iowa, one of the fastest, well, more specifically, Des Moines, one of the fastest growing cities inside the Midwest.
Yeah.
Right? It pulls a lot of population specifically to Des Moines, even through Iowa.
I think it's 26 people. It was 36. I think it's down to 26 people a day move here.
Yeah.
Move to Yep. So it's family for us. I'm confident enough. I could go start a business. Like, I don't know what the business would be. I would figure out something if there was another state or another country that I thought was better. And my wife would be like, yep, let's do it. She can get the core values for her family a little better. And I can say, okay, this place meets those. So,
right. Talk about looking forward through this year. Where's the business headed? Where are you headed? Things changing in your family? Where are you going?
Yeah. Where am I going?
Yeah. Business wise.
Yep. I'm basically where I was at last year, the same time. So I would say about $1 million of volume a month is like what it pays the bills and it gives us a good cushion. I'm hiring my first full-time in-office admin on Monday. This is Friday. So literally, I'm leaving this podcast. I'm going to go clean the area that she's going to sit in and then just say, hey, please keep me organized. Let's do this. So other than that, I just see a huge need in the Des Moines market so starting a podcast, doing this podcast, right? I think there's one need for agents and not connected to a brokerage
more
or an association.
Agnostic.
Yeah. Like I believe that all the brokerages in Des Moines have a spot for somebody. I don't think it matters that much. It does matter though. And I think a lot of agents don't understand what all the brokerages offer, right? And how all the agents kind of work differently in them. So I'm going to start a podcast doing that.
Good.
But ultimately it's onboarding my admin and growing my number of transactions. Volume, I could care less. I mean, just that will come. On the investor side, I've ran a meetup monthly and then every Friday morning, and they're very poorly organized. Admittedly so. I'm just like, hey, these are the dates. I'll figure it out.
I'll attend plenty of these. I wouldn't be as harsh with that criticism.
Yes, they're not organized. I need to do it better. And they need to be like, just have not bigger names, but some other names, some out of state. I've got some guys from Omaha coming over in the future, getting people a wider variety of options of mindset, of motivation. I'm going to try to grow that a little bit and just see where it goes. I mean, that's not business. We talked earlier. It's not a business. I'm not charging for them. I'm not doing any of that, but I track all my leads very closely and I can tell like those events produce more income for me. So I might as well do them better.
If you're a house flipper, execute the burst strategy or do double closings and are in need of money, Little Guy Loans is your go-to lender here in the Des Moines area. Time is money. Loan approvals in 24 hours. Closings in 5 days. Little Guy Loans was founded by Neil Timmins, an investor just like you. Since he has been in over 10,000 homes in Des Moines, there's never an appraisal. Houses, multifamily, and commercial property loans up to $1 million. Check out www.littleguyloans.com.
It sounds to me like you're very heavily focused on growing the brokerage side of the business. What about the short-term management side? Do you view that as separate, or is it component?
I do. It's separate because it's matters, but it's different product. So what we've done with that is I'll send emails to an investor list and an agent list every month. And we send a monthly short-term rental report. To me as an investor, because I was thinking about this, you're going to sell to investors, think like them. They want to know what's going on in the market, and they want to know what properties fit a short-term rental product, right? And so currently, I don't have anything set up to send out rental properties that are on market, because I think there's a market, like a way to help investors find the properties.
Mm-hmm.
If we've already kind of vetted them and say, hey, this one would work. Quarterly, what's going on in the short-term market? I mean, you need to know what you're getting into.
Right.
So it's separate. It didn't grow as fast as, like, to be candid, it did not grow as fast as we thought it would. Mm-hmm. We started it right when the short-term rental, so there were 600 units on market in September of 22 when we started. In January, there's 1,200. So we were like, well, now it's not profitable. Not our business, but like as an investor, you can't just buy any property and make it profitable.
Yeah.
People caught on.
Yeah.
And now people are, it's the most common question that I've heard is what agents get asked when they're, should we sell our 2% mortgage?
Right.
Or should we make it an Airbnb?
Or should we make it an Airbnb? The challenge I see from the outside looking in is it looks a lot easier than what the reality is.
Yeah.
But those who...
The management side of it.
Management. Yeah. Well, just the conception of, I'm going to turn into an Airbnb. Because a lot of us have gone, we've stayed, and you're like, okay, well, that's easy, but it's an actual business. There's things to it. Is it fair to say we've got a couple of holdings in the Airbnb in the short-term space? And so we've got our toe in the water, if you will, and management's critically important. It seems to me like those who do well in that business do very well, and the average don't do very well at all. You'd be better off changing your average Airbnb property into a long-term rental.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's 30%. I would guess 30% make more than what your long-term is.
Yeah. But 30% make more than what the long-term is, and it requires way more energy, time, energy, effort.
Yep. Yeah. And that's really, I mean, it doesn't mean they don't make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're managing yourself in your onesie twosie, you just have to make more than a mortgage in your units, right? Most people don't value their time spending in it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we see is, I mean, we have a lot of people say, hey, would you manage this for us? And we kind of go through it and like, hey, this is what you would make. And they're like, I mean, that's what I'm making now. You're grossing way more because you're paying yourself, paying our management kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not spending any time on it.
Yeah.
But most people don't. They just don't look at it that way. And I can't force everyone to be a business person. And it's just over time, they will stop. Like, I think that's proven. Like, over time, you won't sustain that. People will either sell it or you will hire it out. Most likely, they'll just sell it.
You can come up the curve of success and wealth a lot faster by knowing your worth. And that means it begins with one's time. All right, let's move on to the final segment, what I call the final three. You ready? If you had to give one piece of advice to your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
Go work for free for the best person that you want to model. I don't know if I didn't do that. I feel like I worked for very smart people and I watched exactly what they did, but I didn't go work for free from the best person. Like, I still went and found the job that paid the best and I paid attention to what leadership did. I would go back and I would go try to find whoever I wanted to model in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, and just say, hey, I'm literally yours for the next 3 months, and then find a way to make money elsewhere and just go work for them.
I read a number of biographies. It's amazing when you go back in time, and Edison comes to mind, about the number of people who worked for Edison who then went on to own some piece of the business, to start to pick up something that he let go or left off, whatever it may be. Yeah. Just absolutely incredible to be a sponge on.
Yeah. And I don't even think, I think it's more the mindset that you're willing to work for free, and not more, but it's definitely willing to work for free. They'll probably pay you. You will probably get something. Because most people that are in that realm, they aren't just going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to pay him for 6 months and we'll just be gone. They'll give you something. But the mindset that I'm willing to do this for free, to be the trigger.
If you went to work and only got a paycheck, you didn't get it.
Yeah.
Top 2 books that changed your life.
Influence by Robert Cialdini. Very interesting book. And then it's got to be your Dave Ramsey's Baby Steps, even though I stopped at step 4.
I don't talk to many real estate people who are Dave Ramsey fans, so it becomes interesting. But it seems like you utilized it for the personal finance side of things, and then you took it to where the investments are instead of going down a high fund strategy, which you propagate. You've gone down a different path.
What I liked about it is clear path. It's a model.
It's
a clear path.
Correct.
And like, I don't like black and white. If I'm doing something, I want to know, hey, this is exactly what I need to do. Either I'm going to do it or I'm not. And so it helped my wife and I, understand our finances better, pay attention to that. Before we were just, willy-nilly just spending here and there.
Yep.
And it just wasn't good. So probably that book is what just triggered us to like have a set plan as a couple. We were early on in our marriage, so I helped build our relationship too.
Question 3, if you were cast away on an island, you were there for a year, you can only get 3 pieces of data from your business each and every month. Only 3 pieces of data. What 3 things must you know every month to know how your business is operating?
It's going to be my real estate business. So I apologize to the investors out there. But as an agent, you need to know how many people you talk to, how many properties are under contract would be one for me. People you talk to under contract. And then I would go YouTube, how many pieces of YouTube content I put out. Those 3 things.
For you, it sounds like that. The content leads to the conversations.
Yes. Yep. My goal is to never have to call someone to get a deal and they just call me. I know it sounds like the dream and people are like, oh yeah, that sounds awesome. It's a lot of work. And it is not what they teach in real estate school.
Sure.
It's what they teach in business school.
Night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you being here. This is a great conversation. I know we could have tons of these. We could probably talk forever. So for people, they want to find you, they want to follow you, they want to connect with you. Where can they go? What should they even do?
Yeah. I mean, if you're an investor and you haven't heard of Bigger Pockets, like go jump on there. Obviously, I mean, I've got a profile on there, but that space is massively important. And then secondly, we have I don't own it and I moderate it. It's a Facebook group called DSM Real Estate Investor Networking, I think it is, but it's just DSM. So not Des Moines. It's the only one that's DSM. Go click on that, join that, and just sponge on the other amazing investors that we have. Like, I'm continually amazed at how much other investors will give back to investors in this market. I don't know other markets, but I'm told that it's not quite the same in other markets. In Des Moines, whether it's Iowa nice or for some reason we just have super friendly investors. But if you need a plumber, that website has it. If you need an electrician, it's got everything. Hard money.
Hard money. That's exactly right. The link we'll stick the link in the show notes for everybody. So you've got it there. Long question, and I'll give you the last word. What did I not ask that I should have asked?
I should know all these questions because it's common podcast questions. I listen to an obnoxious number of podcasts. But I'll say the most recent podcast that I listen to, right? I always want to hear someone else's recommendations on podcasts. And so I'll share mine. Patrick Bet-David is a podcaster YouTube channel that I've yet to find a value that he values that I don't. And so I'm trying to find out what that is. And that's super fun. And then I started out on Bigger Pockets podcast. That's where I learned the majority of my real estate investing. So if anyone is just starting out, go listen to the very, very first 200 episodes of Bigger Pockets. And that will help you understand what type of real estate investing you want to do, whether it's single family flips, rentals, short term, all of anything.
Yep.
Those 2 podcasts, 2, 3. Yeah.
Go back to the beginning, because what's taking place in the Bigger Pockets world and then the fellows that run that has been tremendous over the years.
Yeah.
But going back to the beginning takes you to the mentality and the conversations because it is so green. If you go back in comparison to where they are now.
Yep.
And I echo what you're saying. If you're just starting,
yep,
you can walk that journey with them by going back in time.
Yep. I met with a customer service rep because at Bigger Pockets, you pay for some leads at Bigger Pockets as agents. And so I jumped on with their lead of customer success. And she goes, hey, would you want to come on our podcast and bring a client that has done a boring investment? I was like, what do you mean a boring one? She goes, yeah, we're getting too many crazy deals and no one likes those podcasts because they're not relatable. We just want the boring investor deal. And I was like, yeah, that's Des Moines. I've got a lot of those. Yeah. So it's so true. And so those very early days, I mean, Brandon Turner had 30 properties for how many years? Right? Dave Green wasn't even on there. So those early, I do that with every podcast. I'm one of those that I go from the beginning. I want to know everything there is about the hosts and what they think like.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here in this one from the beginning. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. Yeah. Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the show, may I ask a favor of you? Naturally, subscribe so you never miss an episode. But would you rate and leave an honest written review on Apple Podcasts? It does a lot for us here at the show, and I appreciate reading your thoughts. Great guests make for a great show. If you know of another Iowan who would be a great guest, or you yourself have interest in being a guest, well, get on our radar. Visit Investing in Iowa to fill out an application or recommend a guest. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one, go to LegacyImpactInvestors.com. Click on the Invest With Us button in the top right corner, and there you can pick a time for the two of us to get on the calendar and connect. Until next time, keep investing in Iowa.